Hello, my friends. This is going to be the classic multi-shirt episode because we're at the very end of the season and then we got the whole transfer window to go through that usually takes me a day or two, because I'm not going to sit here for 8 hours doing it. But let's go do the end of season review and see if your thoughts on player of the season, young player of the season, and signing of the season ended up being correct. All right, my friends, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Let's get right to it. And yes, on the last end of season review, somebody's like, you always forget to scroll. You can scroll. I think that's a UI problem, but user interface, not you and I, to be clear. Anyway, season saw comings and goings, some of which proved to be shrewd signings and who contributed a lot over the course of the campaign. Okay. Board gives Castillo a C while he only made 5 appearances in, January before we had to send him off because of the promise. Dante Rigo, I guess, counts as a signing because we got him on a free. I guess I didn't show you the end of last season's signings. Okay, fair enough. Barak Ince, A+. Pena, B+. Andrade, B-. Stassen is a D. Ooh, mainly due to giving the player a wage that is too high for his place in the squad. It's an investment. Okay, transfers out. Are there any that they just hated? Okay, De Boer gets a C+, Koopmans gets a C+, Zilton Diaz gets a B. Cool. Sammy Burrard gets a B, C. Amar Katic gets a B+. Bedoya left on a free. Amofa gets a B. Okay, nothing too crazy. Loans out, though. Obviously, we had to loan Juan Camilo Castillo out. This is one of the players, Amain El Caricha, that didn't get any playing time at Dortruck, so we pulled him back because he wanted us to. Andy Sarpong, cool, gets a B+. Mulder gets a C. Veldman, he got 30 appearances, so, I'm happy with that. Gearman gets 29 starts, or 30 appearances in 1 sub, or 30 starts in 1 sub, 29 starts in 5 subs. So it's all right. This is hilarious. Heed van der Arend, delighted with the deal to send him on, happy to receive a loan fee and reduce the wage bill, but then he didn't get any appearances and we pulled him back in January. It's 1.61k, people. It's not a ton, but interesting. Board expectation was top half. We finished 5th, 82% home attendance. Haven't heard anything about, stadium plans, so that's probably why. Vecchia gets top goal scorer, which is probably why we shouldn't sell him. I had some comments on episode, I think 30, that were like, not so sure about that. But again, like I said, I'm pretty pleased. I'm displeased that 7th place on 49 points got past us to get to the, Europa Conference League. But the fact that we finished 5th, and the expectation was to finish 9th or above, and 2 seasons in a row of 8th. I mean, that's a big jump. We had 49 points, so we're up 12 points. We just got to keep it going for next season. We already kind of looked at the results, so I don't want to show you that. I'm not sure why it shows you this twice. Dutch Cup, runner-up. I mean, you could argue it's disappointing, but I'm not that upset about it. Biggest win, 5-0 over PSV. Would have taken 2 of those goals to the end of the season. That'd been all right. Match to remember. Goal of the season. What do we think? Is it going to be good? Here we go. It's a Vecchia goal. Bayan, Barak, Panya, Vecchia. I'm sorry, I don't think that's goal of the season. I don't even think that's remotely close to being goal of the season. What is up with that? So anyway, that's interesting. The finances. Okay, I'm scrolling. There's nothing else to scroll here, okay? No new sponsorship deals. Not great. So sponsorship down. Broadcast revenues down. Corporate hospitality down. Prize money down. It's not been, right? We weren't in a European league, so that makes sense. 920 grand in total merchandise sales, 10% being non-domestic. Kishna, Panya, Bayan, Pena, Barak. I'm good with all those. Although Bayern, I think, is still quite interesting that that's like a fan favorite. But I'm glad we extended his contract. We rotated the team a fair amount this season. However, our key players played a major role this season or not. Yeah. Hans is one that's kind of interesting. I mean, he's still improving, but a little bit of a dip. He was a little bit better last season, but over fewer appearances. So maybe that's every time you click back here and you have to go all the way back. That's so dumb. There's the assist numbers, which is nice to see. Like to see it on. I'm going to keep talking about that till they fix it. But 6 assists from our right back, which is interesting. Panya gets 4 with 14 goals. Nielsen with 3 goals. I guarantee they're all headers. Same thing with Luis. Alois was a shot from outside the box. Augustinson gets a goal. Panya with 14 and 4. I would like the goals to come first, personally. Hans with a goal, but 5 assists. Rossier with 3 goals. Vecchia with 14 and 8. Kishna with 4 and 7. Sorry, Kishna, for playing you out of position. We'll talk about that. There's been some chatter in the comments about, it's been interesting with the Christmas tree, but I think you need to change it, which I kind of might agree with. So, fans player of the season, my friends, Panya. I thought it might be Vecchia. He gets goal of the season. That doesn't do anything for him. Rigo gets signing of the season. Panya gets both awards, the player of the season and the young player of the season. Top goal scorer, Vecchia. We knew that. Barak Ince gets the 8 assists. Most player of the match awards, 6 with Panya. He tied the record. The record was 6. There was a couple things that were inbox about that. And then Panya with the highest average rating. And Stasa was the highest transfer fee, paid at $2.75 million. Which, again, I think if you look at the results, right? We finished 5th, and we didn't have to go splash tons of cash, right? Which I think is good. Hans gets added to our best overall 11. Is he a starter? No. He's a substitute, and Augustinson as well, and he's a substitute. So, of all the players here, Yilton Diaz is no longer here. Rigo is still here in the mid. That's interesting. Van Evek is still here, so he needs to be replaced. That's probably Alois just hasn't been here long enough. Same thing with Nielsen for not getting past Luis or Bayern or, Augustinson over here on Davis. So, it takes some time to kind of settle in. Now, I always think this screen is interesting because it's showing that our defensive efficiency, we were quiet and impenetrable, which is good, but we're also aggressive and wasteful. 3 less goals compared to where we're expected to be. We're pretty much on points, right? 0.1 difference, and expected position would be 3rd, probably based off of the goals. So, yeah, probably need to take a look at that. I have tried to negotiate this in the past and get rid of, make the most of set piece, and nothing works. So if you're not going to negotiate with me, I guess I'll just accept it. It's I don't like that. Maybe that's how some boards are. They're this is how it is. But it's hey, remember that set piece thing and how we finished 5th? You'd think there'd be some flexibility, but whatever. That's just my opinion. All right, my friends, I've hopped this well ahead. The transfer window, I guess for some reason this season, let's go back to last season. Oh, maybe I was wrong. I was thinking that the season started later, or the transfer window went longer for some reason, but I don't think it did. I think I just forgot last time. So, as you can see, the results, we got absolutely smashed by Groningen. Leopold has 6.0. That's the reason. I mean, it's not like anybody else, did a great job by any means. But when your goalkeeper has a 6.0, you're going to give up some goals. Some pretty poor goals. I'd show you, but we'd be here forever. So we beat NAC Breda, we beat Feyenoord, which is surprising, and we drew with AZ. So coming into the season, I'm going, okay, we got to get some points here because this is a tough sled, up until Ajax. Willem II maybe is a winnable game, right? PSV, they've been all right. But, Feyenoord, AZ, Ajax, PSV, that's tough sledding. And instead, we get smashed by Groningen. We beat Feyenoord, we draw with AZ. That's been awesome. So this is how the table sits. We are in the middle of the transfer window. As you can see, it's 21:30 up there. Also, my hair looks a little blue because I've switched the screen. You can see the scarf that Mark sent me here. And it's just a fine balance between how I light my screens and getting all of this to go away. So it used to be a slight green tint here, and now it's a slight blue tint. So I'm going to keep trying to adjust it, but I think the scarf is worth it enough to have some like a light blue outline around me. What if you disagree? Let me know. But here's how the table looks. We're currently at 7th with a -2 goal differential. That's what happens when you get smashed 5-1. Yeah, it's been quite interesting, my friends. We have sold some players I wasn't expecting to sell, and we've bought some players that I wasn't fully expecting to buy. My plan that I talked to you about at the end of last episode is pretty much the same, right? The fullback staying, the center backs and all that kind of stuff. But we've had some surprise, like I'd say one surprise departure that we've backfilled. And I'm kind of thinking this season, I didn't want to go out and drop 12 million on a player. That skews everything in the squad. I'm worried about dynamics that way. I think you could argue you got to do that to be a big club. If you want to be AZ, you want to be Ajax, you got to start playing like the big boys play. But at the same time, we finished 5th last season. So I feel like this season is a take as much money as we can and upgrade facilities, upgrade recruitment, upgrade youth coaching, if we can get that done. Try and get an affiliate club, again, another one that we could send players to or increase our scouting range or something like that. And then I feel like we have a talented younger squad now. Like we got the 2 backup strikers that are pretty darn good, but young. They just need to marinate a little bit. So I didn't want to go out and just splash a bunch of cash and completely mess up our wage structure and our dynamics. That might be foolish. I also haven't seen anybody where I'm like, that person is amazing. Like, it feels like for the money that we've got, the really, really good players don't want to come, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to play in Serie A or, Ligue 1 or whatever. So I'm really curious to see what your thoughts are on our transfer window. So let's get right to it. First up, as we discussed, Andrei Novakovic. I hate to sell him because he's an American player. He just wasn't really cutting the grade for us. Has gone to Croatia with Osijek for 2.4 million. That's a fantastic return on investment for us of 2 million. Subtract his wages out, but he gave us some goals in the league play. He was the backup player for us. I'm thrilled we got 2.4 for him, to be honest with you. He's valued currently at 1.8, so he's gone. Likewise, as we discussed, Zé Evaldo for 1.6 million to Antwerp, which I was kind of surprised that they were interested in him. He just, it's probably my fault that I didn't give him enough chances, but he was definitely that, 3rd, 4th option for us. He and Pete Bayen, and we extended Bayen's contract, and the fans love him. So Zé Evaldo's kind of left out as that 4th string kind of guy, or 4th up, I should say. And we paid 31 grand for him and sold him for 1.6 million. So this is what I'm talking about. I feel like this is the model of the club, is like we go get some cheap players because they're now playing in Europe and the Eredivisie. They're playing for us. We're playing well. We sell them on, and that pads our bank balance. I'd say this is the last of the planned outs. Seedorf has gone to Roda down in the league below us. They need some help, apparently. And he was worth, I think at the time, he was worth 550 grand. We kind of had a bunch of clubs that I'm proud of myself for holding out for 625. I think he's got a sell-on clause. Maybe not. Actually, I think I was trying to get a sell-on clause and no one was doing it. And somebody, like, his value kept creeping up because there was like 3 or 4 clubs that kept bidding 475. And I'm like, no, like, we can figure out how you want to stretch the payments out, but I want 700 plus a buyout or a sell-on clause. And no one was doing, and I was just like, no, we got to keep plugging away. So we had to drop the sell-on clause, but we've sold him for 625 grand, which I think, again, is a darn good amount for a 2-star 500 grand player. So he's gone. Before we get to the surprising sale, I want to talk to you about our staff. As you can see, we've lost a scout, a fitness coach, B-team performance analyst, B-team sports scientist, under 18s performance analyst, and a B-team goalkeeping coach. However, my friends, I think we've upgraded. So I'm going to try. I paused the recording so I can put this up here. I'm going to put a screenshot of the spreadsheet I was working off of. So first up, it wasn't listed here. It's this is last season, so this is technically the next season that this happened. Our chief scout retired, so I think aside from the one drop in adaptability, we've upgraded because he's got 17 instead of a 14 on judging player ability, and he's equal with a 14 on judging player potential ability. Our scout, you can see dropped adaptability a little bit. I don't get too concerned about that. I don't know, whatever. But gone from a 12 on both of the judging categories to a 15 and 17. For the fitness coach, massive upgrade. We dropped the fitness coach that was here, who is John Neuenberg, and signed a new one. I mean, look at that. 18, 11, 16, and 16, up from 8, 9, 13, and 9 in the main categories that coaching attributes, that coaching position has. I think that's a phenomenal improvement. The B team goalkeeping coach, again, an improvement across the board at every category. The performance analysts, going from an 11 and a 10 to a 14 and a 10, going from a 9 and a 9 to an 11 and a 9 at the under 18 level, but is also a model professional. So probably has very, very little impact on the under 18 squad, but it never hurts to have a model professional in your team. Really happy with that. The B team sports scientist and the under 18 sports scientist both going from 9s on sports science to 12s. Overall, very, very happy with, kind of flushing out some of the old staff and the ones that we'd kind of gone like, yeah, let's hire them. We got to get going. And now going, okay, like we've stepped our game up a little bit. Let's go. And I will show you the a couple of the new additions to the coaching staff, but just because they're actual people, so maybe you know the name. Maurizio Fancini. He's had an experience in Serie A, head of sports science at Sassuolo, and then went to Roma as a fitness coach in reality. Prior with Inter, career there. And then Ferenc Hegedűs, who is a player in Hungary. Is this all Hungarian? No, Austria. Okay, so long kind of playing career. Then came the reserves goalkeeping coach for Fehérvár FC 2. Yeah, that's good stuff. Our chief scout is Rui Lamoso. Priors with FC Porto, Firenze, Santa Clara. And then last but not least, Massimiliano Notari, who was the chief scout at Monaco until 2021, and then they dropped him, and he's been looking for a job. Now he wants to just be a scout for us. And I was like, okay. Prior with Milan, Mantova, was a manager, for a little bit with Corsico and Olga Natase. So, again, I always like to throw these names out there for the actual people, because sometimes somebody leaves a random comment and it's like, that's my favorite, or whatever. So I just like to share those. I guess this was this is kind of in betweener. This wasn't a full on I'm selling him definitely, like with Novakovic, and it also wasn't a I'm never selling, but it was too good to pass up. It's like 8.25 plus some add-ons and installments, and it gets it up to 10.5. I know you can't just go off of star rating. I'm aware of that. Okay. But what I feel like I have struggled with in the past is I will hold on to a player too long. And I'm like, oh, but one more season. And then the next season, they're just trash and the value drops. Now, you could say Reading has gotten a value out of that, but it's also going to the Premier League is going to increase your value, right? So it says 8 million. It'll eventually rise, but I felt like, 2 really good seasons. Obviously scored 14 goals for us last season with 4 assists. That's 18 goal participations, and the season before it was 17 with 9 goals and 8 assists. Great player, but he's 28. He wasn't going to, I don't think, really improve, and I really feared that he was going to drop off, and he'd be worth 3 million, and we'd be going, oh, we should have sold him, when we had a chance. That tied in with I'm trying to give the likes of Evan Rautier and Dante Rigo more minutes. Kind of left me going like, well, there's only so many people that could go, and he was one of them. And I felt like we're selling at the peak, and then it's like, all right, let's reinvest. In addition, my friends, this is the most unexpected one for me. Sergio Pena, out of nowhere, Reading came back and we're like, we're going to give you 4.1 million for Sergio Pena. He was worth 4.1. And I'm like, no. And then he was upset because he wanted to go to the Premier League. Right. Again, I'm Reading or the Premier, just as a heads up on that. And then like Evan Rautier, like some of the youngsters, Attila Gearman, Evan Rautier, Dante Rigo, folks that might want to move on in their careers in a couple years came to me and were upset, and I was like, listen, losing him would make the team worse. And they were like, oh yeah, fair, except for one. I can't remember who it was, but it was like, oh yeah, that, makes sense. But then they came back, and his dynamics had gone like very poor, and it said like has already stated his wanting to go to play at a high level. And I was like, okay, let's up the ante here. And so essentially, like, it currently says 5.25, but it'll go to 7.5. And I think that might not include if they don't get relegated, because I think either on him or on Vecchia we included, I think it was like, if you avoid relegation, we get like $1 million on top of that. But again, picking up somebody on a free and getting 5.25 to 7.5, and again, it says, of course now it says he's 3.5 because he's at the Premier League level, but he was a 3-star current ability and potential ability. I'm gonna miss his technique and all that kind of stuff, but when you look at it, okay, last season he did a 6.85 in 30 total appearances, 20 of those being starts, with 3 goals, 4 assists, 2 players in the match. It's not like he was a 7.8 and I'm losing my best player. It actually kind of like helped out a little bit in that midfield. Okay, so it's not like I'm thrilled, but I'm not also gutted. And really, I mean, he's going to 27.5 grand a week. You kind of can't blame him for wanting to go, but I'm a little worried that we've lost a really good, playmaker. But at the flip side, you go, well, he only had 4 assists last season. So this is the first player we brought in after Pena left, because we had an injury crisis. I will talk to you about this. We essentially lost Alois, Augustinsson, and it was like all of a sudden we had no depth on the back line, and we'd lost somebody in the middle. But I'm trying to kind of sell a player on for 4, 5, 6, 7 million, replace them with a younger player, develop them, sell them on. That's kind of where I'm going with the save right now. And Silas came available. We paid 15.75 grand. It was an end of contract signing. He was going to be done at the end of the calendar year, December. And they're like, you want to buy him now for 16? And I was like, sure. Like, that's nothing. And we promised him we would loan him. So we've loaned him. We picked him up from Copenhagen and loaned him back to the same league to, what is it? Yeah, Gymnastic, AGF. So he's not going to immediately impact us, but I kind of go, he could be the next Shaq, right? Minus not playing left back, but like being that holding midfielder, central midfielder on defend, can play the DM that we don't really use, but can also play center back. So provides a little bit of that depth, dictates tempo. I think for a player, we're paying him 2.3K a week. Okay, fair enough. But for a player we got for essentially nothing, right? He's worth almost 10 times the value that we paid. I think he's a development option, and I'm quite pleased with him. So we've loaned him back out. It says that we're getting a loan fee, but if you look at the contract, they're not paying for his wages. So it's like they're paying 25% of his less than 25% of his wages, if you look at it that way. But, hey, a value investment. Then we picked up Milos Vulic, and I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait, I thought you said you're going to give Evan Rotier and Dante Rigo more minutes. And that's probably, this and the next signing are probably mistakes on my part. It's just one of those things you're like, oh, I can't pass up a really good player. That's the problem. But look at this guy. Shoots from distance, shoots with power, comes deep to get the ball, moves the right foot before dribble attempt. He's a drop off in 2 from like the passing and technique from Sergio Pena. He's about the same age. But we got him on a free. Now, he hadn't had a great experience when he moved to Italy, but we got him on a free, and we're paying him, essentially, we took the wages we were paying Sergio Pena, the exact same wages of 10 grand, and we gave him to Vulic. Now, he wants to be a regular starter, but I think we can give him enough minutes that, like, that's not going to matter too much. So I kind of look at my regular starters right now as more squad players, and because we play with 5 midfielders and attacking midfielders, it's like, that's fine, like it works out. And he's worth 5.25. So like, even if we only kept him a year or 2, right, it would be 29. We sell him for 3 million. Like, again, you pick up a player on a free and he's immediately worth 5.25. I just go, that it was too good to pass up. I'll admit, I forgot when we signed Milos that we'd already put out a contract offer, transfer offer to Bafana Maleka, or for Bafana Maleka. And then it reminded me when he signed. Transfer window busy, but again, 18 years old. Now we're paying him $6.5 grand, which is too much. But 18 years old, $6.5 grand, accepted an Impact subcontract, has 5-star potential. What's interesting is he's media description is a center back, but I think he's definitely better suited to playing like a deep line playmaker. Look at the passing, the technique, the vision. Like, he's 5'11". He could play ball playing defender if he has a growth spurt. Like, I just don't want a 5'11" defender at center back. I'd much rather have him at midfield. But again, we had an injury crisis where it's like, oh my goodness, I sold Zevaldo. Our fullbacks have died. Like, we're kind of in a bind here where we need to move some players around. And he was just too good of a value to pass up. Now, we paid $700 grand, okay, to Nacional de Madeira in Portugal. He had one loan appearance for Mainz. That didn't go well. But he was 17, and this one he would have been 16. So I kind of go, again, a development value prospect that we're probably paying too much for. $6.5 grand. His value, I think, is off. I think when you look at 4 to 5-star potential and a guy that can play up and down the spine and is very versatile, that seems like a win for me. Also, does not dive into tackles. Yeah, I just don't think a 5'11" center back that doesn't really go after the tackling with a 10 is a center back. I think he's more of a deep line playmaker. So I wanted to loan him out, but we've promised him Impact sub minutes, so that's kind of a problem. So we'll see how he does here, and then maybe in the January window we loan him out. Like, kind of get him settled in, hopefully get him some mentoring to get that determination up a little bit. But then we, hey, let's go get you some minutes somewhere, son. All right. So that's that. That like, it says 5.75 million, but you're missing out on, okay, we sold Keys de Boer for 3 million, so 4.2. Okay, yeah. So subtract 4.2 from this, so call it 12.5. That went out here. That's really that part of the season. We sold like 17 or 18 million in players this summer, and we brought in 725 grand. It's just kind of how I'm looking at it. So, again, we sold some of these guys that weren't gonna make it. Like, I'm quite pleased with this one. They just came in for him. He's 6'6". He just didn't develop. I hate that we sold a 6'6" player, like, just because that's amazing to see, like, in the match engine. But he just wasn't gonna make it. He was valued at 47 grand at the time. We got 125 grand plus 20% sell on. And plus, I think that's what the 145 is plus 20 grand if they get promoted or make it to the playoffs because they got relegated. So we've sent out Sarpong and a Gearman on loan. Nobody was interested in them. We've again and Silas Anderson has gone out right back out. This one is kind of exciting. Nazi, the French goalkeeper that we picked up, who's all right. He's developed all right. He's still got 3 to 4 star ability, but Niort in Ligue 2 came calling, and they wanted him as their first team keeper. He was our B team keeper, but I was like, mate, if we can go get you legitimate minutes at Ligue 2 as a goalkeeper, I'm gonna take that. Now they've conceded 5. He's got 1 clean sheet in 4 starts, but they're not the best. They're currently in 10th. But to me, that was pretty exciting to have again, considering we haven't had many players or many clubs come asking to loan our players, even if we've sent out like all the faxes. The fact that they came in, I was like, done. Like, take him, let's go. And they're paying a little bit for him. Whatever, it doesn't really matter, does it? $220 per week. They're paying a fifth of his wages plus $600 a month. So do the math. It's not even his full wages. But that's it. The good news is the board have increased our youth recruitment. They've agreed to pay $4 million to improve our training facilities, and they've increased our junior coaching budget. So I feel like we're reinvesting into the club. They gave me weird feedback on one of these about, I requested to improve the youth training facilities, and they said, we'd rather you buy players ready for the first team. And I'm like, but the club vision says to develop players using the youth system. what? Like, someone explained that to me, but yeah. So my plan was for us to switch to a 4-2-3-1 tiki-taka, because I wanted to try vertical tiki-taka versus tiki-taka. Again, developing that really good passing and vision. I just enjoy watching it versus the 4-2-3-1 control, okay? But it didn't go very well. And then we got a slew of injuries. I guess I should show you the injuries here. Hold on a second. Let's go to the medical center and go to injury history. Okay. So, modern injury. We had a twisted ankle for Juan Camilo Castillo. So, we had our backup right back out. Hatham Al-Luiz, a pulled calf muscle, was out for 3 weeks. Barak Ince has literally just come back. He had an abdominal strain for 4 weeks. So, that's 2 right backs, an attacking mid/midfielder. Evan Ratier was out with a gashed upper leg. This is all in preseason, but it bled into the start of the season. Panya was out for 2 weeks with a pulled calf muscle. Augustinson was out with pulled knee ligaments for 2 weeks. It was not pretty. So, like, all of a sudden, we didn't have anybody that could play on the right wing because Panya was kind of the choice there. We had one right back, and that was Lewis Nielsen, and we had Veldman and Shaq as the potential left back options. So it was kind of shaky. And so we reverted because of those things to this formation. And it's worked out all right. So this is how we're going to kind of line up. I'm not saying Ratier is going to play there all the time. Kishna is getting had gotten a rest last game. Also, sorry, let's talk about Kishna. He wants a new contract because his contract's coming up. Star player, 16 grand with like a huge signing like bonus, like multiple hundreds of thousands of euros. I love him, but I was like, oh no, like, are we gonna have to sell him like in the January window? Or, and I do want your thoughts on this because I do love him, but it's just like star player minutes. Ooh, mate, I don't know about that. Like, you're not even the best left winger of the club now. Panya is. Now, Panya's also the best right winger. And you're definitely not the best attacking mid, but we're playing you there. But it's like, Barak is on 13 grand a week and still has room to improve and played better last season. So what do we do there? Because I'm hopping around. Our wage budget is now 279 grand. We're spending 110 grand less than that, and we've got 25 million in the transfer budget. And this is after adjusting our transfer budget to push our scouting budget to world capabilities. And we've got 44 million in the bank. So it's not like we can't afford it, but it's just like, is that a good value? Should we pay him that much, or should we sell it? I can't sell it. But this is how we've rolled out. So again, Carranza, I'm gonna scroll down here so you can see the options here. So Carranza, we've got Stassen and Andrade that can play there, and obviously Kishna can play striker as well. In the attacking mid ranks, we've got Ratier, Barak, Panya. Hans can play there, but Dante, Stassen, and Ratier. Panya on the midfield, we've got all those players, but Shaq as well, and Hans. Rajiv can play there in a bind. Vulic can play there. Maleka can play there. So we've got tons of options here. From the center back options, we've got Pete Bayan. Obviously, Nielsen and Uis are the starters. Bayan, Rajiv is going to get minutes this season. Bafana can play there in a bind. I don't know what to do about Peter Pavlovic. Do we just leave him in the B team and call him up every so often for like the Dutch Cup first round? That's my only thing. But I feel like we've got 2 actual backups in Bayan and Ventholt, and then Maleka can play there, and then Pavlovic can play there. And then the right backs, we've got Nielsen, Castillo, Alois as the starter. And the left backs, we've got Augustinson with Veldman as the backup and Shaq as the backup. And it says that Pavlovic can play there, but he's right-footed and inverted and not very good at it. And then Leopold with Nikimia as the backups. So, as you can see, we've loaned these other guys out. Al Karicha refuses to go to Dordrecht, and no one wants him. So I don't know what to do with him. Like, do we just kind of leave him in the B team? I literally don't know what to do. Nobody wants to load him. He doesn't even want to go to our affiliate, which I can't really blame him because he went last season and then they didn't play him. But it's like, so what do you want me to do with your career, bro? We've left Van der Arend in the squad as the potential next right winger Vecchia. He's got a long way to go, but he's got high potential. So we're going to put him probably available for B team minutes, but then like every so often bring him into games. Again, he's 19. He's got 3 years left on his contract. I think we got some time with him, but like he could be good but we have to give him minutes and we have to like dedicate some time to giving him minutes. Here's Rajiv. Again, I'm not saying he's out and out amazing, but like he's almost as good as Zevaldo and he's got a little bit higher potential, but he does need minutes. So like we talked about, he's going to get Zevaldo's 800 minutes from last season. I'm a little worried that I probably, with the signings, have not given Dante Rigo enough room to flourish, but it kind of is what it is. Again, maybe I shouldn't have signed one of these guys, but when we had that injury crisis and all of a sudden I'm playing Shaq at left back and then sometimes he's playing center back because Nielsen's sliding over here, I was like, oh my gosh, like we've sold some players. We got room to make some mistakes here. Let's bring some people in. All right, my friends, that's going to be the end of the transfer window episode. I'm going to bring you right back after the international break here. We'll take on PSV, we'll skip Willem II, and we'll take on Ajax just to see how it goes. Can't wait to see your thoughts about all of this. I'm sure there's going to be people going like, you've got to spend some money, but when you look at the potential of the squad, I'm quite pleased. I feel like this is like the marinating season. We don't have to spend the money. We keep it. We invest in some facilities and let these players marinate a little bit and see what happens. Also, the board said no to affiliate. I can't remember if I mentioned that. They refused. They refused to get a second affiliate. And it was like I even like went to talk to them about it, and they're like, "No, I've asked twice," and they said no. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening with the board, but that's where we're at, my friends. Let me know about all this stuff, especially Kishna, and we'll see you next time. Hit that like button. Bye. Well, that solves that because I forgot. Well, I didn't really forget. I just thought he was going to say no. He didn't want to go to Sabinik. But Petar Pavlovic has been given regular starter minutes for Sabinik, which is in the Croatian First League, which is 16th in the world, which isn't, it's not like if we put him down to the affiliate, that's like 41st, not in the world, in Europe. That's the 41st ranked competition. And instead, he's going to be in the 16th and getting regular starter minutes. I think that's pretty good. And oh my goodness, look at this. Let's just do this together. All right, let's go. I want you to go flourish. I'm going to compile some match reports. 11 and a quarter for Luis. No. Of course, this is after our window closes. Of course. Panya, 12 and a quarter. No. 9 and 3/4. No. And Leopold, 5 and a quarter. No. I'm refreshed that all of them said they didn't want to go. The other thing, my friends, all of our scouts, Feyenoord must be desperate. Hey, Mithrak. All of our scouts tried to be poached by Feyenoord. Like they came in, and I talked to every single one of them. They're like, mate, you got nothing to worry about. I'm sticking with you. Good. So we need to like get some revenge on Feyenoord by like poaching some of their staff or players or something like that. What's the best way to get revenge? That's the last thing I'm going to ask you today in the comments. What's the best way to get revenge on a club that tried to steal every one of our scouts? Go.